Okay, hi, my name is Kaylyn. Welcome back to Build a Life You Love podcast. I'm super excited to talk to you today about life, goals, entrepreneurship, mindset, all the things that you kind of want to hear and talk about to get you where you want to go in life. I didn't think I was going to have time for this episode just because there's a lot going on. I have a bunch of new clients that I have onboarded this January and this quarter, and I am traveling to Kansas City on Friday to visit my friend Allison, but my schedule cleared up and I was able to sit down and record. So, welcome back to the podcast. And I realized, guys, I never talked about quitting my job in 2023 and starting my business, or if I did, I don't remember, but I was talking again to my friend Allison earlier today because I was like, I have time to film the podcast, but I have no idea what I want to talk about. Like, usually I have like a general topic of what's been going on in my life or what I kind of want to speak on to the world. And I was like, I have no idea what I want to talk about. So let's start back from the beginning of how I got started in entrepreneurship and what made me want to quit my job, what gave me the faith, what gave me the strength to believe that it was possible for me to start my own business and kind of take the risk. So, with that being said, let's flash back to honestly 2021, because that's where this really all begins. In 2021, I went through like a horrible breakup. I feel like there's always that one relationship in your early 20s where you think, oh my God, this is my person. Like, we just feel so in sync. I can't imagine my life without you. Uh, and then it just like tragically ends. Mind you, I did break up with him, was the one to break up with him. So maybe it could have worked out if I would have just sucked it out. But maybe I knew down the line it was just not in the stars. Besides the point. Also, I was young. Like, when you're young and you don't know I don't know what relationships were supposed to be like when I was 20. Sometimes to this day, I'm like, do I even know what it takes to be in a relationship? I have no idea. We're still figuring that out. Hence why I'm probably still single. Anyway, back to the story. I had gone through this breakup. I was like, what am I doing? All I've ever wanted was to be married, to have kids. Like, and maybe that's why I put so much pressure on it, is because when you're I was like in my mid-college years. What you think about doing post-grad is, getting married and having kids. And so I guess relationships were my focus. And so when this breakup happened, I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, I don't see myself with anybody else, which is kind of crazy to say that now because, like, at the time I did, but now that I'm, like, out of it, I'm like, holy shit, what was I thinking? I was like, what am I gonna do? So I just started brainstorming different ideas of, what could be fun to work on as I'm, like, figuring out myself and figuring out my life. And my friend in my sorority had just opened up a boutique. And I was like, that's really cool. I would love to start a brand or a boutique or whatever it is. So I actually had met with her for coffee and learned all about that and the process of getting the business set up, the EIN, where to get the clothes, setting up the website. So shout out Kylie Cockrell if you're listening to this. You low-key haven't inspired me to start all my little businesses and side hustles, so shout out for that. And I actually got to help her with a couple of her photo shoots in her boutique, so that was pretty cool as well. I started diving into the world of business and what it was like to run your own business, to run your own brand. And I believe I wrote in my journal just, different Bible verses about clothes and fashion and business, and I may have even written down like a goal to start my own boutique, which I did. You'll hear later in the story, I did end up doing. So that happened in 2021. Fast forward to early 22, I believe. Maybe it was like over the summer when me and my cousin started talking about it. I don't know if I brought it up or whatever, but we had talked about doing the boutique together. Like, it started to become a thing where we thought it was a cool idea that we just do it together. We can model, we can pick out the clothes. We'll each have a separate section. So like, I'll pick out what I like, you pick out what you like. We'll each have a collection. So we'll have the Kaylyn collection, the Izzy collection, the Angelica collection, point blank period. So we kind of had like an idea of it in 2021, but in 2022, that's when we really we really started getting the ball rolling, with the name, the logo, the website, the branding, the photo shoot, the launch, this picking out the clothes, all the things. We never went to market. I wish we would have. That would have been so fun. And looking back, if I had to do retail again, I definitely would have recommended myself going to market because it is so important in picking out the clothes and feeling them and kind of piecing everything together. And I've learned a lot through the boutique experience. But mind you, I'm still in college while this is all happening. Like, I haven't even started the corporate 9 to 5. So we had the boutique, we launched it. And in the same year that I launched the boutique, I also had an internship. And I had it was my senior year. I was about to go back to school. I posted about it and I was like, I'm so excited to go back to school. This internship was great. Like one of those like thank you posts. Okay. And one of my friend's moms reached out to me and she was like, hey, I didn't know you did social media. I was like, yes, like I did this whole internship. I'm studying IMC at Ole Miss. It's my passion. It's my favorite thing in the world. Well, she said, well, do you want to do my socials? And I said, say less, I will do it. And so I started doing her social media senior year on top of running the boutique. And, the boutique was continuing. And I ended up getting 3 social media clients before I even graduated, which is actually crazy. So I had the boutique, 3 clients, and a graduation date. And my mom was like, what are you going to do? And so I was like, I have no idea. I thought like this whole pipeline was supposed to do, you go to high school, you graduate high school, you go to college, you graduate college, you go to the corporate world. Like, I thought that's what like, how am I supposed to know what I want to do? I'm only 23 and like, I think that's the whole point. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll just stick doing this. And my mom was like, well, no, like, I think you need to get corporate experience, la, 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 la. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to do that. Applied for a couple jobs and ended up getting one in downtown Covington, which was super awesome. It was so convenient, only just like 15, 20 minutes from my house. Lots of local shops and boutiques that I would spend my paycheck all on. Mind you, at this point, I think me and my cousins with the boutique, by the time I graduated, we kind of realized it wasn't a vision we all could see still going in the future. So we ultimately decided to close the boutique because it was just, retail is hard. If anybody else is in retail or is in retail, retail is hard. And I applaud to all small boutique businesses because the merchandise is expensive. You have to buy new merchandise how often to keep up with the trends. Then you got to pay employees. You have to pay the website. You have to pay, like, so many fees that you don't even realize behind the scenes. So if you don't already, shop local and go to those boutiques, go shop online because those, the department stores and all the big companies are going to get money no matter what. But it's the small businesses in your area that matter. These are people in your community that need and love your support. This story's all over the place. I landed a job in Covington. Great people, great job. I got a lot of experience. I got to work on a TV show. I got to work on a podcast, all the things. But this was my first experience in a very long time being at a desk for 8 hours a day in one place. If you don't know, I was homeschooled in high school, so I'm very much used to creating my own schedule. If I wanted to work outside, I could. If I wanted to, pop in a store in the middle of the day or go to a workout class at a random time, like, I could. This was my first experience since I was 13 years old where I did not have the opportunity to do that. And it had nothing to do with the job itself. It had nothing to do with the people. The people were great. It just wasn't an aligned vision for me. A verse that God has always spoken over me is John 10:10 about, the thief coming to kill and destroy, but I've come to give you an abundant life. I think that's the gist of it. And I just knew, even when I made the decision about becoming homeschooled, I just knew God had more for me out there. I needed to trust wherever this decision was bringing me. And I honestly think if I didn't have God or faith in my life, I probably wouldn't have taken the leap. When I was at regular school, I wasn't sleeping a lot. Like I was stressed out, I was crying, I was failing science, and I was a straight A student in grammar school. Like I'm a hard worker. And I even got a scholarship to that school for having the highest GPA in my grade. And you're telling me I'm failing science? That doesn't make sense. Like, and it wasn't like it was a hard thing to grasp. It was genuinely the teachers. And I knew, again, God had more for me out there than what I was experiencing. And I guess just like my corporate job, it's the same exact feeling. Like I knew God had more for me out there. And did I know how to run a business? No. Do you think like not? But here's the thing, half these people who are billionaires and millionaires who have strong, successful businesses, do you think they knew everything when they first started? No. It's something you learn, it's something you grow, it's something that you evolve. Remember that next time you're faced at crossroads trying to figure out like what's best for me, or you have imposter syndrome, or you're scared to do something. Remind yourself, not everybody, like everybody starts from somewhere, first of all. Second of all, you're going to learn as you go. You just got to have to trust the process and trust that God is leading you somewhere else and he wants to think bigger and better for your life rather than just thinking small. And that's something that I kind of want to touch on too, is think bigger. I think so many times in our lives we think small, or we only think of what our own capacity and our humanness can achieve. Where I was just talking to God about something the other day. I've always, like, one of my goals is to move out, get my own apartment, all the things. And I had a thought yesterday and I was like, what if I just got a house? Like, what if I just skipped the whole apartment phase and just went straight to house? And I'm like, wait, this may be why I haven't actually gotten an apartment, is because God's building me up for something bigger. He wants me to have the house. He doesn't want me to be living in an apartment. He wants me to have a house so I can host and so I can decorate multiple different rooms, so I can have an office, so I can have an at-home gym, like all the things. Don't limit your view and your goals and your dreams to your like limited perspective. Don't limit yourself. Put yourself in God's shoes and have an expansive mindset, have an abundant mindset. Anyway, but I think that's kind of the mindset I had when I was like starting my own business was, all right, like I know God's got me. I just got to do it. And at first when I told my dad, I was like, hey, so this job that is really awesome that is only 20 minutes